using the drug Dupixent. And today I'm going to tell you how my eczema is doing since, because it's been 12 weeks since my last Dupixent shot, why I've stopped, and how I'm managing to heal my eczema without this medication. Are you one of the few? This is the channel for you. My name is Victoria and I make eczema-related skincare content. I've had eczema like almost 40 years, and it's only up until recently I am eczema-free, or pretty much on the brink of being eczema-free, due to something called the Carnivore diet, which I will get into. But I was on a drug called Dupixent. It's the lovely Rolls Royce of eczema medication. It's a $24,000 medication in Canada, and basically $1,000 a shot because you take one every 2 weeks. And for many, it's their saving grace. But for me, it has been a nightmare. I have been on and off of it since April of this year, and now I am completely off of it. I've gone through the withdrawal process, and I'm just going to tell you guys all about that today at being 12 weeks. And the reason why I think 12 weeks is important, this is my second time almost being at 12 weeks post-Dupixent, and this time I'm almost healed. Whereas the last time I basically ended up re-injecting myself, and I do not see myself doing that ever and ever again. So here we go. Please note, I'm not a doctor, okay? So if you, speak to your dermatologist, talk to your doctor. It really is so dependent on how severe your skin is and all of those factors. So I'm not saying quit cold turkey, but it's always good to hear a different perspective and then see what you could apply to yourself. Because the reality is, Dupixent shuts down two proteins in your brain called interleukin 4 and interleukin 13. And so what that's gonna do is it's stopping the inflammation. And the way I like to think of it is, imagine inside this is a whole bunch of bugs, okay? And they are populating, and they're just gonna start spilling out. These are called cytokines that's in your body, and they are the inflammatory response. Now those things, these bugs are getting all through your home. You know, they just keep populating and spilling out. When you get something like Dupixent, it just puts the lid on those bugs. So guess what? Everything's calm. Now we don't have a bug problem in the house, right? Or in your body. It calms the inflammation. But inside this jar, you need to know that they are still repopulating, and they are still having, your body's still having that inflammatory response. And one day the lid will untwist, because it will just become too much, and you'll notice, oh, the Dupixent's not working anymore, and I'm getting a little bit of inflammation, just a little bit of bugs are coming out. And then before you know it, you're done, and you've got cytokines everywhere, and you have an inflammatory response, and the medication isn't doing jack. All right, and that happens with like almost every single inflammatory drug. Anything that shuts down your immune system, just know somewhere there's a jar in your body, and those bugs are gonna get out. That's how I like to explain it. So I digress. If you need to use it for a short period of time, I totally understand. I stopped my Dupixent because I was having the worst flares around my eyes. This is my face. Side effects from medication are the worst, and we know every drug comes with them. We wish, we hope, we pray that they won't happen to us. However, I was not so lucky this time. This eye inflammation is the result of a drug called Dupixent. Dupixent is a powerful, effective eczema treatment, and while it has helped me everywhere else, my eyes have paid a price. Let this be a gentle reminder. Do not overlook side effects. I didn't really have eye flares post or pre-Dupixent, other than when I was going through topical steroid withdrawal, and I would get the occasional blepharitis like reaction, but this was just becoming very uncomfortable. And it's like I traded one good thing for another, and like, who the heck wants to have eye problems? Like, it's just, I would rather eczema on my hands, to be honest. That's easier to manage than when it starts to hit your face. When it hit my face, I said, okay, we're done here, we've had enough. So In the summertime, you can go watch. I have a whole playlist called Dupixent Tales. So you can watch from the moment I started taking it, and just you see the evolution of my opinion towards it. I was very much in favor of Dupixent. I mean, I was skeptical, but I like the fact that it's a non-steroid medication. Uh, you know, I thought there was not a Dupixent withdrawal. I thought. Like there's topical steroid withdrawal. Yeah, that's not true. There is something called Dupixent withdrawal. It's just because it's new, so it hasn't been recognized yet. It took topical steroid withdrawal something like I don't know, like 30 years for them to acknowledge topical steroid withdrawal. Dupixent's been around for like a decade. So yeah, the doctors are not, they're like, oh no, if you look it up online, but if you look at people, and this is why it's important, yes, take your doctor's advice or however, you also need to look at people's experiences, because that anecdotal, if you build up enough anecdotal information, that becomes a study, that becomes a hypothesis of, okay, this is what happens when people do this. And a lot of these studies are not in favor of the drug company. So why would they do it? Because if they do it and then people aren't going to want to take the drug, and then the Rolls Royce doesn't make money. Sad to say, that's the life we live, but that's what it is. So I did start to see many people were having chronic eye issues after coming off Dupixent, and I was beginning to have them. So I was like, okay, we're gonna stop this. We're gonna stop this. And I have been on and off again because eczema is not easy for the last since April. I think that's when I started. That's when I started my channel. It's because of Dupixent that I started this, because I thought, you know what, let me track this journey and just share. I've been through so much with my skin. I just wanted to help people, and I wanted people to thrive. I want you, if you have eczema, I want you to thrive with your skin. And there is a way to thrive. There's some of it's mind, some of it's the products you use, and a big part is diet. Anyway, so how am I doing? If you want to see the first time, you can go check that out. But now it's been 12 weeks and I feel confident because the half-life of Dupixent, I can't even remember, but from what I know, it takes, at 3 months, you know that this sucker's out of your system. And so I felt like it was out of my system a little bit sooner, just because I haven't been taking it every 2 weeks for the last, all this time. I didn't do that. I took a shot here, a shot there. I was kind of a little bit of a rebel with how I was taking it, and I'm glad. I had about moderate eczema when I started, maybe moderate to mild. I wouldn't say it was mild, but it wasn't severe in that it wasn't taking over my whole body. It was mainly my hands, my neck, my arms, and sometimes little patches on my face. That's what it was prior to. I know I've done the head to toe. I understand the head to toe. Thankfully, I wasn't there when I started, so I didn't need probably as much medication to get myself under control. Anyway, so it's been 12 weeks now, and I was doing great. I am doing great. At about 6-7 weeks post Dupixent shot, that is when I had an extreme flare, and then it calmed down after about 3 weeks, and now here I am. I wouldn't say my eczema is altogether gone, but the flare has healed and my skin is starting to look good again. I'm not getting the under eye issues anymore. I can see my skin healing in a way that it would on Dupixent, but I'm not on the Dupixent. So that is really encouraging. And the reason that my skin is doing as good as it's doing is because I am on, ready? Most of you probably already know, but if you're new, I am on the carnivore diet. And all the vegans have left the chat. I am on the carnivore diet because I've tried everything, and nothing was working. And I kind of always felt inside that I knew diet played a role. I've taken out different things at different times, but I've never taken out whole food groups at one time. And I realized if you have an issue with your gut, the only way you can really test if something is giving you first of all, if you have eczema, there's a myriad of problems. There's a lot of issues. There's a lot of things that are causing you issues with your body, and you're probably allergic to tons of things, right? So just taking one out here and one out there, you're never really gonna get a clear idea. So The carnivore diet is like the ultimate elimination diet for somebody who has eczema. And it involved me taking out whole food groups. I took out all of my carbohydrates, all my grains, all my gluten. I've taken out all the fruits and vegetables. I'm eating meat, fat, and water. Like that's it, you know, and coffee. So very simple diet. And, you know, I know there's many questions like, you know, what about fiber and what about all the nutrition and yada, yada, yada. And I'm going to get into that in the next video because I know like all the objections that I've gotten. But let me just tell you guys something. It's been 11 weeks. I haven't had any fiber. I haven't had any carbs. I haven't had anything. And my skin has never looked better. I have never looked better. I feel amazing. All right. Just interesting things like no body odor. My teeth are completely clean, bowel movements smooth, no issues, no mucus, no bloating. Not to mention, I lost like 16 pounds in the last, 11 weeks, so looking great. So all these indicators, biomarkers of health, sleeping like a baby, it's amazing, amazing, amazing. So, I will definitely do a video to sort of debunk some of the concerns and things that I know a lot of people are going to have. But the fact that my skin is getting better is like that. I've done a lot of things. I've done no sugar diets. I have taken out gluten, probably not to the extent that I could have, but I've tried. I've done dairy free. I've, tried all organic stuff. I've taken supplements. I've done colonics. I've so many different things, and they have played a role, but nothing has ever made this much of a difference. This much of a difference. Like this is like medical grade. Like to me, this is like a medication did this. Like that's how I personally feel. So it's pretty significant. And if you're interested in like the carnivore diet, I have a whole playlist called Carnivore Chronicles where I really get into my whole process. It's only been 11 weeks, but in 11 weeks, I have reversed so many different issues. It hasn't been linear. Healing is not linear, especially when it comes to eczema. So it's, for some, maybe it's like they do it and immediately they're better. But what happened to me, I was getting better, and then bam, I had a really bad flare, and then slowly began to get better from there. So, that's something to keep in mind. I also was coming out of eating somewhat keto prior to going carnivore. I had already taken sugar out of my diet. Like there's a lot of things prior to me going carnivore that probably set me up for success on this diet. Like I wasn't struggling to go back to sugar and candy and all the things. Although I did go with my kids to a candy shop maybe 2 weeks ago, and the smell of the shop, like it was so good. It made me a little bit nauseous, and my kids got, the Coca-Cola bottle gummies. My mouth was salivating. Oh, that's probably one of the first times I was like, just give me the whole pack. Like I'll eat it right here, right now. I didn't. But other than that moment, I'm not here wishing for the candy. I'm not here wishing for any of this stuff, because now I associate all of that with my rash, with my eczema, with my skin being worse. And I was so miserable. Like the last flare I had, like I didn't want to leave my house. It was very painful. It was like a million paper cuts underneath my eyes. And that was because of the Dupixent withdrawal, truthfully, that did that. And so it was just too much. I'm like, I just need to get better. I need to get this medication out of my system, and I need to eat in a way that is just going to be good and healthy for my skin. And so that is what I've been doing. And if you are considering Dupixent, definitely check out my Dupixent tales. I don't want to scare you because I know it's desperate. When you have eczema, you can just be so desperate for something to work for reprieve from itchy, ongoing skin problems. And that's really what Dupixent was for me. This is for the first time in my life in a long time I tasted healthy skin. Like in the summer, in the spring of last year when it first started working, I was like, oh my gosh, I have never felt my skin my hands not be open and bleeding for the last, how many years, to stop itching incessantly all the time. Like, I get the desperation that eczema can lead you to. However, there is a possible answer. I'm not going to say that this is the answer for everybody because I really don't know. I would love to test it. And this is why I'm putting this information out here, because everyone should know that this is an option. Before I get on something like Dupixent, like, I personally wish before I did Dupixent that I had tried the carnivore diet, and I was aware of the carnivore diet. I don't know. It just felt very extreme. It felt like it's going to be too expensive. It felt like, am I going to die of a heart attack? Like, it just, I don't know. And I just didn't do it. But now that I've done it, I'm like, no, I needed to do it. And perhaps when I heard of the diet, it was never framed in that it could heal someone of eczema. It was framed in it heals different elements. Possibly it could heal your eczema. So I really want to get that out there for people, because the side effects of Dupixent, and these are only the known side effects, were awful for me. Awful, awful, awful. And I know many people online that have spent, they're off their Dupixent, and for a whole year, they're still experiencing the facial flares and the issues. And I'm not experiencing any of that. So I really attribute that to the diet. And I do understand we all have different value systems in terms of meat and all of those things. And so I completely respect people's choices. However, I just wanted to bring that awareness because you might not know. You don't know what you don't know. And there is a possibility that that the carnivore diet could be the very thing that brings healing to your skin. And if you want to eventually, after 3 to 6 months, start bringing different things back into your diet, you can do so at a very slow, controlled rate and find out, this works for me, this doesn't work for me. Because I find just the blanket elimination diet, I feel like it's a little bit too messy and too complicated to figure out, is this a trigger, is this not a trigger, is this a trigger, especially because the skin is very up and down. So that is my kind of 12 weeks, what is that, 3-4 months, no shot, and eczema's gone. And we thank the Lord in heaven, because this has been a journey of a lifetime, literally my whole life. I'll be 40 in February, and eczema has been, in a sense, a close enemy, like a frenemy to me. And there's been so many good things, I would say, as a result of me having eczema. I've learned to take care of my body in a way I never would have. I've met amazing people. I even started this channel, so it hasn't been all bad. But I know if you're a fellow eczema warrior, you know the suffering that I talk about. And I really do encourage you to give carnivore a try, or at least to start to look into the research surrounding it. I think that would be very beneficial to you. One last thing I wanted to talk about is for those who are histamine intolerant, that can happen. And because a lot of meats are aged, they can be high in histamine. So if you do find you're having like you have histamine issues or a histamine reaction, that could be something you need to look into doing carnivore in a more modified way. Many people say that after a period of time anyway, the histamine issues dissolve. So you could also just not change anything, do the diet, and sort of wait it through. But histamine reactions can be very uncomfortable. It's hives, it's itching, it's a little different because I did go through a bit of a healing crisis, and it feels a bit different than eczema. It's like a overreaction of all of your I don't know, the immune system. I know that Benadryl does help with histamine reactions, but you kind of don't want to, like, once again, it's like a Band-Aid. It's putting that thing back on. So I didn't do any Benadryl during this withdrawal. I thugged it out. I had many dark down days, I will tell you that much. And when I went through my latest flare and a couple weeks ago, in the midst of doing carnivore, it was discouraging because, I mean, I'm here 7 weeks into this diet, and it's like, everything was going so well, and then boom, my skin reacted. And so it was very discouraging. But I was like, well, what's the alternative? And they do say, I don't know why, but they say it gets worse before it gets better. If you know why it gets worse before it gets better, please like comment down below, because I don't understand that. However, I just thought, you know what? I'm never gonna know if I don't see this thing through. I saw it through, and I'm here smiling, happy, telling you guys, because I want you to thrive with your skin. like before they gave me steroids, before they gave me Dupixent, before I did the Protopic, and like, why don't they suggest this? Why don't they at least start to address diet? You know, it's always like, no, it's not diet. It has nothing to do with your diet. No, that's not making an impact. And then we find out that it is. And maybe you've been sold that lie. Maybe your doctors have told you, oh, no, it has nothing to do with that. Well, test it out and see for yourself. When I first went on the carnivore diet, I felt the inflammation leave my body within like 3 days. I was just even amazed by how the inflammation went down. My skin wasn't all the way better, but it's like, you know, there's this like puff, gone. Looked like I had lost weight. I did, I guess, but it was just like inflammation weight. We think we have fat to lose. No, it's just your inflammation. So anyway, that is my thoughts, and that is 12 weeks. I have a whole, as I said, the Chronicles, Dupixent Chronicles. This might be my last Dupixent video, because I won't be shooting my shots anymore. So if you are somebody who has started taking it, or you want some tips and tricks, or you just want to know more about the drug, please check out my Dupixent Chronicles. And if you are on Dupixent right now, don't have a heart attack, don't worry. There is a way to get off the drug. As I said, I went carnivore at the same time, pretty much 1 week difference of me withdrawing. There's a way. When you're ready, there's a way you can get off. It's not going to be the worst thing that ever happened to you. The body is so good at healing itself if given the opportunity. So please, if you're watching this and you're like, oh my gosh, I've been on Dupixent, you know, you're going to be okay, all right? Because I don't want to raise anybody's cortisol, because if you have eczema, our cortisol is already, you know, at a 10 out of 10 typically. So that is my 3 months without Dupixent update. I'm pleased to announce that I don't need it anymore. My skin is thriving, and I'm feeling good. So until next time.